of our member, I would like to introduce our speaker first. So our next speaker is Jane Ting, my very good friend, and she's an accountant and entrepreneur in Sarawak, Malaysia. She enjoys exploring and experiencing new things in life and grabs every opportunity to travel, especially in Asian countries. She also loves meeting and communicating with people and believes that everyone has a story to tell. Her fascination is in studying human personalities and behavior. And tonight, she will give her keynote speech on Unlock Success Through DISC, Mastering Communication for Stronger Connections and Greater Results. Now, at the end of this keynote speech, you will understand and discover how to communicate effectively to achieve greater success, know yourself better, and improve communication skills, teamwork, and productivity at the workplace. So without further ado, may I invite our member, Jane Ting, to present the center stage with the title, Unlock Success Through DISC. Unlock Success Through DISC, Jane Ting.
All right, thank you so much. Everyone can hear me? If you can hear me, oh, okay. If you can hear me, give me a thumbs up. Okay, wonderful. Let me share the slide. All right. I noticed that there's few guests here. I've actually shared this before, which is last year, if I'm not mistaken, last year about DISC personality trait. And it's more about getting know others, why they behave this way or why they communicate this way in certain way. So in certain part, I will make it short, which is about the introductions part, and it will focus more on how we actually can communicate with certain traits of people. Now, for the benefit of the guests, so I will talk about exactly what is DISC is. So eventually it's the personality traits of most of us here. Hold on, let me close this. So you can actually slowly identify which trait you are. Along the way, you'll realize, am I a D, am I an I or C or S? So what is these personality traits for? D stands for dominance, I influence, C consciousness, sorry, S steadiness. Now, this assessment is eventually for leadership development and communications, training, management, team building, recruitment, and coaching. So eventually you are being assigned to give a workshop or training when this assessment will quickly link you and the audience through knowing which category your audience is. Now, so far, if you wanted to know your audience better, so through this assessment, you can know which trait, and then eventually more easy for you to engage with them through their ways of talking. Now, as I mentioned, DISC personality traits eventually is no other, at the same time, know ourselves more. Sometimes you may thinking, why I'm actually acting this way? Why did I actually communicate this way, more aggressive compared to another person can be more patient toward a certain scenario? So this is where you can understand yourself more and others. And that is why we can communicate with another person better. So kindly take note, this is not a judging tool. It's for us to actually know why another person behave this way and how you as a leader or you as a boss can actually talk to your employee in a way that more effectively. Now I will talk about this at more detail on DISC, exactly what it is. And slowly we'll go through who are they, which personality you are towards it. So D stand for dominance. So dominance are the person which is very direct, decisiveness, driven, demanding, and determined. So now, as you can see that with this personality, this group of people, they are direct in their communications. They want result. So they won't go around the bushes. They will say, I want to see this. How you're doing it is your problem, but let me see the result. So they enjoy taking charge. Certain people don't like to take charge, but this group of people, they like to take charge. So the drawback of it is that they kind of impatience because they wanted to see the result to a certain level, that they cannot seem to see people dragging it. So this is the part. So who are these group of people? Mostly, this is just a guideline for the career base who are more towards the D type, which is the lawyer, operational manager, so manager-wise, the one that actually take charge in the business. So police officer and law supervisor. So now, after knowing this, you're thinking, this is all wording. So is there any real life people that we can actually refer to? Yes. Let's see some pictures. You actually can see these people. And when linked to how they react, how they actually present themselves out, that is their personality, which is the dominance type. So our Donald Trump, he has no fears of talking what he believes. So this is another type of people that is example of it. Steve Jobs eventually is a very firm in terms of like very indulged in his Apple. So he is, when he wanted to have a button on the iPhone, he insists to have it. So no, by hook, by crook, eventually the team have to make it work. So this is how that personality of a person bring out from this part for the D sessions. So let us see another type, which is influence, I. So this group of people, they are more inspiring and impulsive. So they are more towards people-oriented. Okay, they are confident. Unlike D type are more task-oriented. They see tasks, they get energy, they wanted to complete it. And this one, they see a group of people, they are very happy. And then eventually the drawback is that they're easily distracted because too many people, they're happy and then eventually they might get sidetracked. And also they have this fear of rejections. They're scared that people don't like them. So that's why they always protect a very energetic themselves in front of a lot of people. So what kind of career? Example of career in I, artists, those that under the light. So eventually you can see that they can perform. Marketing manager, the frontliner, creative director, and public relation manager. So these are the example of it. Okay. Example of people that with I, Will Smith, and this guy, Bill Clinton. Let us further. I will go slightly more faster, then we can focus on the how part. The steadiness. So steadiness are the person with thread. These people are more stable, sympathetic, and supportive. They are very patient, predictable, and eventually they also are people-oriented. They like consistency. They are also detailed type of people. They don't like changes. This is one part of these people because they are consistent. So certain changes get them frustrated, get them kind of scared. So what are the example of the S part? Human resource manager, social worker, and teachers. They like consistent. They don't like their life suddenly will change. Eventually, they want it to be in order to a certain level. But at the same time, they want to involve people. So another group of people, okay, these are the example of the S part, which is Mother Teresa and David Beckham. They are also an example, like for this, David Beckham. He is very consistent. How he actually get famous? Not just because of the look, but eventually he's also have a skill of in the football. So he consistently practiced to a certain level that he make himself as a champion, as a football star. Hold on. Okay, the last one, consciousness. Consciousness. I always pronounce this difficultly. Right, a person that is correct, careful, calculating, and competence. So this group of people are more toward data. They are more reserved type. They like to work behind the scene. So at a certain level, they emphasize on accuracy. They are direct in their communications. They're reserved, and they don't like conflict. That is personal. And compared to just now, the IS, S is people-oriented. This is more toward task-oriented group of people. But they don't want to deal so much with people. Now, example are accountants. Like MC just now mentions that I'm an accountant, but if you notice that how come this accountant is not so C type, I'll explain it later on. Data scientists, financial analysis, and this part, statisticians. So they are dealing with figures, data, and fact. They are more towards this, and this group of people, they are more comfort in working in this area because something that they can control on. Okay, this is example of the C type of people. Hold on, let me see if I can move this color. Okay, this is where we can actually group the people, the DISC, from task-oriented and people-oriented and their energy level. So if a D type of people eventually receive a task, he or she will be very energetic. They want to complete it because they are result-oriented. They are very strong-willed eventually. So when you give a task to a D type of people, you don't have to worry. Eventually, he or she will finish it because he will focus on the task and they eventually wanted to get it done. And another type of people, also energetic, want to get it done, but however, they want to involve with people, which is I, influence. They're outgoing, enthusiastic, optimistic, high spirit, and lively. And come to C and S. They are more slower, but doesn't mean that they are bad. They are more slower because they focus so much more on the accuracy part, C and S part. And one is focused on the work part, the task oriented, which is the C. And the S part, they like to deal with people, but at the same time, they are not so energetic. They are more towards, they wanted to ensure that it is correct, but at the same time, they want to involve with people. So this area are where we can see why a person, when they receive a task, they are energetic, they want to complete it and then quickly submit it to the bosses. And some are saying, wait, let me finish, let me calculate. Then they submit to the bosses. It is correct, but they take longer time. Another group of people, they say, hold on, I got my team member, they haven't submit, we have to submit together. So this is how we eventually see there are this personality that cause to react this way. Okay, now, after identified DISC, the personality traits of these 4 characters, this is overall of it. But eventually, a person can have more than one trait in a person. This is where we were going to see how we communicate with people. I'm going to share with you as I'm a accountant by profession. Eventually, I deal with different kind of bosses, and they somehow have different personality. And how do I actually spot them after few sessions of talking? And how do I present the result of the accounting to them to a certain level that they could understand or they could accept the way I present for this part? So let me share with you. When I'm facing a D type of people, D type, which is dominance of client. Firstly, I noticed that they will straight away ask, after I present the financial statement to them, they will straight away ask, then how? Then how? You're going to be taxed about 10,000 ringgit. And then they will say, then how? What's the next step? How to reduce the tax? Those kind of things. How to structure? Eventually, they want a result base. So once I get the symptom that, oh, this is a D type, they want me to present to a certain level, which is direct, not hitting around the bushes. So to a certain level, I need to do it, not just the data only, but when I present, I will need to ensure that it is according it. Let me give you an example. There's one client that I actually met is when he saw that his tax is certain level above the expectation that he wanted to pay, he was like, how do we eventually come to this? Because I'm actually not making so much profit, but in tax wise, he need to pay so much. And he's kind of not say angry, but to a certain level, he kind of get anxious. How do we actually resolve? How do that figures come that way? And I have to tell them straight to the point, tell him straight to the point that tax and accountings are two different things. They eventually come, the figures, although it's not profitable, but when it comes to tax, it add back, and then eventually you get tax. So I have to explain to him very direct. There's no other story behind. And he will know how this figure derived from. But after knowing that figures derived from, he wanted a solutions. Can he pay by installment? Can he pay straight away? Those kind of things. All these need to be present accordingly. So when I notice a D person, there's no other story behind. You cannot tell other things it add on in. You straight away need to go to the conclusions part. So eventually, this is the customer that I have faced. So when I face an I kind of customer, it is kind of, they are always very friendly. They are very enthusiastic. They always have a story to tell. After I meet this client, she will tell me the entire story of the family background, the neighbors, the house, the son, before they telling me the story of the business. So I was like, okay, this is a very I kind of people. So the D type, I will spend 1 to 2 hours finish. The I type, I might be spending the entire day, but I haven't get the things that I wanted to hear, which is about the financial state. Towards the end, then I will direct back and talk to the lady. This is most of the I people are lady that I met. Of course, there's guys also. So this lady, I told her before about the tax, not the taxes, the structure of the business, how they can actually maximize their taxes through this. I have to give comparative to her that, hey, this similar industry with you are doing this, and then you can actually use this way of doing it. So she also need to listen other story before come to a conclusion. So this is how I've actually noticed, because you can't give an assessment to your client at that time. Kindly do the assessment for me so I can actually identify which trait you are. Then you started to talk to them. No, there's no way. But after a while, when they are talking to a certain period of time, 1 to 2 minutes, I can easily grab, maybe this type is I, S, or C type of client. So this helped me a lot in my industry during I'm facing the new clients when I'm doing my accounts. So this is a group of people that we need to know how to actually communicate with them, because they can't wait you to come back. I get back to you later, and then they somehow some group of people, they prefer me to be straightforward type, which is the D type. But this one, you can spend 1 to 2 days. Eventually, they may not be knowing exactly how they are going to do their tests. So this is where I know my client part. So when I know an I have to be careful. Do not let them drag my time. Do not let them drag too long. We have to come back to it. So this is where we know how. This is I peoples. For the S part, the steadiness part, when I meet this client, how do I recognize them? When they are talking, they are very slow. The tone is nearly one tone. They are very slow. They're very patient. No matter how happy things happen, they just smile, they will laugh, but eventually they will somehow just very monotone. So I was like, this group of people is S type. So they are very appreciations. They don't like changes at a certain level. So when I know this kind of group of people, when I present, I have to be patient also with a lot of questions. These group of people, they started with a lot of questions. So I'd be ready already. So I have to know this way. So as for C, consciousness. So this group of people, they are task-oriented, less task oriented but less people type, they will not, they not say don't like to mingle with people there, but they prefer mingle with data to a certain level that is their comfort zone. So this group of people, they are organized, detailed, they're very clear with their instructions. So how do I identify this group of people when I'm meeting this client? One day, there's one client actually come with a book on his hand. He will write a lot of things. So it's very organized with the book there. They also have this sticker notes on it. So I was like, oh, he know exactly when is the last meeting, what we actually talk, and eventually they jot down it. So I was like, whoa, which is very detailed. So when I talk to this client, I have to be very, very careful. To us, why? Because he remember our last meeting, what he said. The figures that I showed to him, he remember. He's a detailed type of people. So this group of people, we need to respect them, that they are appreciate that we give them accurate figures. So when it comes to knowing clients who are there through the personality traits, it helped me to actually understand why they react that way. Why eventually they wanted to rush things up, most of the time caught on the deadline, or those that actually once their year end close, they will straight away send in the account in. So this is how I identified, because as I mentioned, I love to study human behavior. Earlier on, I have no idea why a person will react on certain react differently on the similar situations. After I studied this, then I did myself. I know that, oh, I'm a D type with S type and with a I type. So a person can actually have different type of personality trait in a person. So you can be with D, I, or even C. You have main D or with a main I. So you can see a person when they bring it out. Okay. So this is where we know them. But if you're doing this like me, if I'm actually talking with another person, I cannot ask them to do the assessment. But when we are talking to a workshop or crowd, you can do an assessment. I actually attach this assessment. Let me see. Okay. This will take 5 minutes of your time to actually do the assessment. Do I have time? Hold on. Okay, I should have time. Okay, this time
22 minutes right now.
22. Okay, thank you. So this is I have sent in the link. So eventually you can try to do it and see which category you are in, which personality. Then you understand why you react that way. Now, let me see. I lost control on my mouse.
How do we do it, Jane?
There's a link in the oh, hold on. I think I sent it wrongly. Okay, there's a link in the chat box. There's a link in the chat box. Let me stop sharing first now because I cannot see everyone. There's a link in the chat box. Once you enter, let me share.
Got it. Yeah, you have to hover your cursor over the thumbs. Then you can click on it.
Okay, now can you all see this? Okay, this is where you're going to see the assessment. You just click on the most like you and most least like you. So in this one box, you need to click either one. There are two click, one with green, one with red, which is one is least most like you, which is thumbs up. The one that is not like you at all, that's go down. So you will take about 3 to 5 minutes to finish, depends on how fast you actually did it. Then you'll see the end result of it. So let's take a 5 minutes to do this. Let me share, where's my timer? Some of you did it before.
23 minutes.
3 minutes, huh?
23 minutes is you now at 23, you still got another 20.
Okay.
You got
Good.
20,
So
21 minute more.
I use 5 minutes then. I have 5 minutes. Let me
Okay, I time for you.
Thank you. Open this one. Everyone can try to do it and see which personality trait are you. And then you can link what I shared earlier. To unshare. Okay. So, okay, you have 5 minutes to complete this. Okay.
Okay. 10 seconds more to
Ooh,
5 minutes. Yeah,
okay.
1 minute, 2 minutes. Okay.
Oh, okay. Forgot to unmute myself. Hands up. Okay. Would you be able to identify which trait you are? Let me see. Where am I? Slide. Okay, here. Okay, this is me. So this personality test eventually will not stick to major one. So a person can have few of it. Of course, you will not have a balance of all of it. After a while, if you want to have a balance of all of it, it's a bit difficult because everyone is unique to a certain. This is why we can actually see why we react this way. So I'm a bit more to a D type. So when tasks are given to me, I need to complete it in a allocate time. So at the same time, I actually can talk with people because I'm a I type of people and S type of people because of my job. So this will change according to years or time and depends on the situations as well. But your major one, it will still be there. So that is why just now when we are mentions that, okay, the S type is more towards the accountant or D type towards the accountant. But how come an accountant like me presenting myself here and joining Toastmasters? So because there are some part of me still have an I part that I like to be with people, not just a data figure type. So is it balanced? Good, but it depends where we are, where you wanted to see yourself to be. So this personality trait eventually helped me to better ways in communicating with people. So on and off, before I identify which client I am talking with, I have to start with listening. So from listening, I'm start to grab the signal. Okay, this type of people is that they prefer how the communication style it is to be. So from there, we build the rapport, and then when come to conflict, we know how to resolve it. So when you're meeting a D type, there is a conflict, just go straight to the point. Don't go for hitting around the bushes, and eventually they will start to get very angry towards it. So this is very good for me. My personal thought is that because it's for my personal growth. So I noticed that, hey, I'm a bit, earlier on, I'm actually a very big piece of D. It's a bit smaller B, and more towards C. So I'm actually a bigger piece of D and also the S part, D and S. I is a bit lesser. I is coming more in after I left uni and started to go to the marketplace and join Toastmasters. So this is how it evolved. It will change. But of course, the main part, my part is still a D part, D and also the S part. So my dear friends, which part are yours? So which personality are yours? You can type in the chat box so we can know each other more. So it's a combination of few. So this link, you can use it to do the assessment. And from that assessment, you'll start to know the party you are talking with, especially when in the crowd, or you yourself, where you wanted to improve. This part also can help out. So that is my sharing for today. So is there any more questions? If there's questions, you are feel free to talk. Open your audio. S and C. Agus is S and C. Yes. Agus, the way Agus talk eventually is very patient type of people. If you notice that, you won't be go to Miranda style. You won't be go to Shalina style. Shalina is a very active. You can see that she is that way when she need to present herself. So I believe that in certain part of it, she have another trait that we don't see one. Yeah. DI, yeah. That's why Miranda is here. Miranda is very obvious. I believe Miranda is very more towards D type. I, as the way she presents herself, yes, she's a people-oriented as well. So a person can have more than 2 to 3 traits. So this is how we eventually see each other. Lina, D and S, very oriented kind of people. Work task, this. So when I'm working with, I'm all over the place. Actually, which is good. So when we put Shalina in situations where we need a person to be hyper, and Shalina can be. And if a situation there a lot of people is hyper already, then Shalina will turn to be more quiet. So that is a very good sign. We don't straight away feel that awkward. So if you need anything, need Shalina, need a person that to handle a situations that you're not familiar with, whether it's hyper, whether it's going to be awkward, it's going to be quiet, just get Shalina on the spot because she can change accordingly. All right. Minanda, you are influence. We're going to hear a lot more from you later on. You are also a people-oriented, very inspiring kind of people. So this is how we actually know more about ourselves and why we react this way. And if you wanted to change, of course, there's a struggle. So before that, I'm not so much of the I part of people. So I'm actually struggle when I actually joined Toastmaster. It's not that easy because I have to put myself in front of people and start talking. I'm not that type of people. But eventually I have to train myself because I wanted to step up as an entrepreneur. So when I want to become an entrepreneur, eventually I cannot be quiet, just sitting, this is your report. Okay, kindly pay your tax and that's all. No, there's no way. So people won't want to talk to a person that's so robotic. So that is how I train myself to a certain level. I know this is what I lack and I need to present myself no matter how uncomfortable it is. So that is all. So I hope that you benefit from the sharing. If there's no questions, I will pass back the time to the MC tonight. Jemo.
Yeah, we still have sometimes do any of you have some questions to pose to Jane Ting? If not, I have one question. So you meet with a lot of people. Which personality is the worst for you to deal with?
All right. I won't say that that's my client, Elsa. If one of you know is my client, they're hobbies. All right. So I'm actually quite afraid. I won't say quite afraid. I find it challenging to actually talk with a person which is totally the C type. They are very, very analytical, very, very detailed. I once meet a client that write every detail of figures from the year they actually started the business. I'm not the original that doing the account, but she has this accountant which is earlier, and she remember every detail the previous accountant actually told her, and then the figures reflected. She will tell me, this accountant 5 years ago told me this figure is okay, but that doesn't seem to be correct. I remember last meeting, you mentioned that this 24% of taxes is for the company, but I noticed that there is 25%. How come? It doesn't go straight to the point which from our earlier meeting. She will reserve it and next meeting come out again. I may not be remember what I'm actually talking already because I'm meeting with so many people. At some point, she point out figures, percentage, and I was like, huh. So bear in mind, be truthful because you never know when you're going to be questioned. So be honest with what you are talking about. So that is the challenging part when I'm meeting a very, very big C type of people. Okay, let me see the group chat.
Okay. So thank you for that answer. Anyone has any more questions?
Oh, Renko
more?
is
I don't have a question, but I think this profile can also refer or rather term differently. And I always remember when I was working in Australia, the role that I was assuming, and it came back, actually in Singapore, started in Singapore, it came back and D and C. Then went to Australia because I was D and C, I was put in the job to run because of my D and C. And the C that back then I was compliant. So basically they put me in regulatory and compliance department. So I was like, great, doing all the compliance breaches management. That was fantastic and did excellent job. And when I was put to another department under I went ballistic. So when I refer this again, now I did a test again, I was really all over the place. There was not a particular one that actually stands out now. So that means that either we become different as our age progresses or experiences progresses. So it's quite interesting. And thank you for that. It's a great test or exercise to keep in mind and practice every now and then. Thank you for that, Jane.
Thank you for your sharing. Yes, it is changed according to your experience, to your work, and yes, sometimes age. So like Shalina is a balance of both. So it is a very, I would say, stable kind of people. If you have any events, I would recommend you use her.
No, I think I'm
All right.
easy. Don't use me. I will destroy your event.
All right, let me see. Who else in the group? Yeah, I see a lot of red color also. Yeah, Miranda. See, my guess is correct.
Okay.
Renko is
Anyone
correct.
anyone
Yes.
with more questions? If not, then we thank you very much, Jane Ding, for that center stage presentation.
Thank you.
Really lovely, great presentation from you. We learned a lot from different types of personalities. And now we move on to the next section, which is, hold on, which is the presentation, a project speaker, presentation by Will Scott. Before I introduce him, may I have Miranda to be his evaluator? Okay, thank you, Miranda. And before that, let me introduce him. So Will Scott, he was a top-level gymnast representing South Africa at the junior level. At 16 years of age, his promising career was on full display for the world to see. However, an unfortunate accident during his training for the World Championship resulted in paralysis from the neck down. Yet, he proved that a true champion can never be defeated. Today, he is more than just an inspiration. He is an accomplished motivational speaker, trainer, and life coach. In addition to these roles, he has also become an online marketing specialist and serves as the founder and CEO of Will Scott Media, an online marketing platform. His leadership skills have been demonstrated through numerous roles in his Toastmasters journey, including a past tenure as area director in District 74. Currently, he holds the position of president of Atlantic Toastmasters Club in Cape Town, South Africa. And Will Scott also have a podcast, which is Flying with Will, which I really love to listen to it. I would recommend everyone to listen to go to Spotify and search Flying with Will. It's a great podcast. So without further ado, Will Scott, Return of the Little Green Man, Return of the Little Green Man, Will Scott.
Thank you so much, Jane. Wow. That's one thing I love about this club. You guys do introductions and I have to ask myself, is she talking about me? That's always quite fun. Right. Consider this. We have approximately 200 billion stars in our galaxy alone. And then consider that there are approximately 300 billion galaxies in the known universe. Our own solar system contains 8 planets, of which at this stage, life is supported on 1. And every star potentially has a planet or 3 that could support life. Right. That being said, I grew up at a time when popular culture was telling me that aliens, little green men, would come to Earth speaking perfect English, that they would have traveled many light years solely for our benefit. They would either be portrayed as 100% hostile or 100% benevolent. Human beings, you and I, it turns out, are so important that we either need to be wiped out to protect the universe in its entirety from us, or saved from ourselves, in order that we, those important souls that we are, would one day save the universe as only we can. Wow. Okay, that's me being my Gen X, most honest version, right? Thank you, Steven Spielberg. E.T. has indeed phoned home, and I will now continue to wear my tinfoil hat. So, how long have aliens been visiting our planet? We only realized powered flight with the Wright brothers in 1903. We only put the first person into space in 1961 with Yuri Gagarin. One could say we are newcomers to the area. Yet from space, it turns out, we can see that our ancestors were speaking to little green men out there, potentially for thousands of years. And here I am referring then to the pyramids. The Great Pyramid of Giza, 2 million blocks, each one immeasurable in its own weight, its size. Some of these things are unbelievably heavy, right? Yet they were quarried 500 miles away, perfectly chiseled to fit each other, where you could literally not put a matchstick between them. But who built them? And more to the point, how? For some reason, we don't know. Now, I would imagine that would bother a few people. And then going on, if you look then at the layout of the pyramids on the great, what do you call it? The flats or part of Giza there, where they're all lined up to perfectly then follow the constellation Orion. But here's the rub. They were made to do so 20,000 years ago, before our last ice age, and before it is agreed that civilization, in fact, even existed on our planet. Ah, right. Take then the Nazca lines. If you stood in a field looking at one, it would seem like it was a newly plowed space where someone was about to plant something. Yet observed from space, they represent shapes. There's one that represents a spider. There's another one that represents an eagle. From the ground, they look like nothing. Who have we been talking to? They can only be recognized from orbit. Right. Right, brothers. Yuri Gagarin, less than 100 years ago. Huh. It turns out that governments around the world have been very interested in little green men. Amazingly so. Here we remember these things from our Saturday mornings with our Fruit Loops and the Jetsons. Well, it turns out that they have been taken a little bit more seriously than that over history. In secret, governments have been researching these things for decades, it turns out. In June of this year, there was a congressional oversight committee in the United States that got together to speak to 3 experts in the intelligence service to ask them quite seriously, are we alone? You see, there is now so much evidence out there. And through the Freedom of Information Act in America, a lot of that is now being made public. Can we trust our own eyes? There are these tic-tac shapes that defy logic, both in terms of the way they look, as well as in terms of how they behave. They seem to defy every rule of physics, at least every rule of physics that we can understand. And again, you need to then ask, well, what do you believe? If these 3 gentlemen are to be believed, then Grand Theft Auto is no longer limited to the highways of the world. Because as it turns out, we are in possession of more than half a dozen of these extraterrestrial, foreign, unknown vehicles. So, who do they belong to? Where did they come from? Because if you ask anyone in this world, they'll go, not mine. Yours? No. No one knows. So now you got to start asking yourself, folks. I mean, I can give you records, historical records, more kind of modern, sort of to the point historical stuff that happened in the last century or so, books that have been written, it would probably turn this into a bit more like a 20-minute keynote, if not longer. So you need to be asking yourself what you believe. But I think more to the point, what difference would it make to you one way or the other? Are we so arrogant to believe that here we are in this little dot, in the middle of nowhere? And yeah, that is pretty much the middle of nowhere, the area that we inhabit in this great thing called our universe. To think that we are the only life, the only civilization of note, the only ones to exist and explore and to have the ambitions that we do. Now, I'm going to pose then these questions to you. Firstly, if a spaceship had to land on the White House lawn today, and it was broadcast to the world on CNN, how would that change the way you saw humanity? More to the point, how would that change the way you saw yourself? Now, people would have various reasons or reasons not to believe in such things, be they existential, be they psychological, be they religious. You see, we are very much tuned. Our default setting is to hold to that which we hold most dear, that which we cleave to make our existence feel a little bit more palatable. How would it feel then if tomorrow you knew that you were not alone and that your safety and security is no longer in the hands of those that you've placed your trust in to defend you from whatever might come your way? But then, having said all that, secondly, I would put this example to you. If beings could travel across the universe from their point of origin, wherever that might be, to us, how important exactly would we be in their estimation? Think about it this way. If you were to go and take a walk through the Serengeti in Africa, and you came across a molehill on that vast expanse of the Masai Mara, and on this molehill you noticed ants. Well, actually it's an anthill then, wouldn't it be? I beg your pardon. But getting back to my point, you notice these ants going about their daily lives, doing what ants do. Would you be inclined then to want to go and blow them up, burn each one with a magnifying glass, as we might have done when we were kids? Or would you say to yourself, nah, there's an anthill, that's interesting, and keep walking? You see, it is my supposition that if we were not alone in the universe and someone came knocking, noticing that we were here, they would probably see us a little like we see those ants on that anthill. Bearing in mind that we've never visited anyone else. We've only just begun our voyages of discovery in the last 3 centuries on our own planet, much less the rest of the universe. And at that point, one then has to wonder, have we been building this up in our own minds, in our own biases, in our own paranoias for all these decades, all these centuries, wondering now if these were godlike beings from wherever, to say that they were this big threat to us, or a great friend somehow, benevolent, helps us along. We gain great strides in medicine and in rocketry and in discovery and all these things. Would there be either of these things? You see, apart from us being this little fascination, we're just us. And I think that is the point. I think that little green men in our minds, in our estimations, in our imaginations, are always going to be one thing. But whatever extraterrestrial life there is out there, that's always going to be what it is. And it may be that those two things will never, ever come together. Madam Toastmaster.
Thank you, Will, for that wonderful presentation. You know, I've always fascinated with the little green men, but I'm not sure whether they do exist or not, or is it only in my imagination, or just fanatic people just believing in it. But this is a subject that I've always wanted, always fascinated me as well. So thank you for that presentation. And now I would like to invite your evaluator, Miranda, to give her evaluation on your speech.
Hi, Will. Wow, it's a lot. I have to digest, and I do like the way you, come up with this topic, which is, for me, very unusual. Not the things that I usually listen to in the Toastmasters or elsewhere. But you really provoke a lot of thinking. I guess, probably that's what you meant it to be, to get people to think, to ponder. And for me personally, it highlighted my lack of, I guess, pondering on such subjects and not questioning or not really thinking about it. So I'm not sure where you wanted to present this, or is just in general to get us to think and to ponder. And if it is to think and just question things, I think you achieve your objectives, because now I'm thinking, there's so many things to think about. And with that also, I'm wondering who your audience was meant to be. Yeah. Why I'm saying that, Will, is because there are a lot of terms and a lot of words, at least for the people in this part of the world, or, more on the Asian part, whose language is not English, whose native language is not English. It feels to me almost overwhelming. I mean, I know the words that you used, and you threw some names, people, and even Serengeti Hill, like in Serengeti. I prided myself as having a lot of general knowledge, but I know a lot of people, if I say that I've asked people about Serengeti, that nobody either did. I think anybody that I ask hardly ever know what that is. Yeah, so I mean, and this is I felt there is a gap between your knowledge, it's huge, your huge knowledge, and now you're trying to present that to people in general, and there's such a huge gap. And I'm just thinking right now, maybe what I could suggest to you is to consider the audience and then chunk it down a little bit. And think, okay, would they understand? Would they know this? And I think that would help to digest that. I mean, with all the things that I know, with my level of English, I feel very overwhelmed still. Yeah. So maybe more clarification, what do you want people to do or to get out of your speech before you actually give the speech? just to give a little background, this is something that I've been thinking about, and it made me this, and I would like to invite you to also ponder on certain things or question our existentialism, something like that. And yeah, give it a little bit, and then maybe simplify your speech a little bit so that it's clearer and the language is easier to digest, and also the references. It's a lot. Yeah, that is from the, I don't know, I think this is what I'm feeling. Even with what I know, I still feel like, oh my God, I don't think my son would know most of the thing, and he's younger than me, because he just didn't, study all this geography like we used to do, and when we were younger, and then also, having to learn a lot of, general knowledge, just because that's what we did before the advent of internet. We just learn, read and learn, right? So that is, but other than that, I think what this probably would work if you could be clear about your objectives, and also a bit longer, so that it's clearer what you want, and engage the audience also along the way. Maybe even ask them to chat, like put things in the chat box, like say yes if you know this, or what do you think of this? And so it became like more engaged with the audience. I think that would help for your speech. Okay, so with that, and back to our Toastmaster of the meeting, Jane, and thank you, Will.
Thank you, Miranda, for that evaluation. Thank you, Will, again for that wonderful presentation of yours. And now, shall we go to a short break and a photo session? Madam President, who's going to take picture?
Okay, I'm going to take photo. Everyone, if it's convenient, kindly switch on your camera. That would be great. Jane, you have two, so I don't know which one should be a picture of yours. And Nuta is Miranda, I guess. The recording assistant.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay. Jane Ting, is it convenient for you? Jane 1, Jane 2, Jane 3. Okay, so fine. All right. Everyone look in the camera.
You could also do like hide non-video participants. So then you just.
Yep, just did. All right. I'm just hoping Jane will pop up. Jane Ting, 3, 2, 1. Pretend she's there. All right, so everybody, eyes in the camera, ready, 1, 2, go. Give me the big smile again, 1, 2, go. Thank you so much. Oh, someone just sent the message here. Someone just sent the message, distracted me. 1, 2, again, go. Thank you. All right, let's go for a video break, and we come back here in 5 and switch in. If you like to, would you kindly? Yep, 5 minutes starts.
I think I took 5 minutes. Yeah.
Yep. 3:20, so we come back at 3:25.
9:25.
Oh, sorry. All right, number 3. So I'm going to show off my German, very particular dirndl.
I was wondering, you look so different, and it usually the dirndl is green, that one that I know, And so I was not sure whether that was like a dirndl. It's so pretty.
Thank you.
Heather,
Marina, I'm pretty.
Huh?
I'm pretty. My husband said I'm cute.
the dress is pretty.
Oh, thank you. I thought you said I'm pretty.
But you're also pretty, but the dress is also very pretty. I wouldn't mind having one. It's very
Wow.
nice. I like the white top.
Well, these are the things that, thank God the weather is like 20 degrees and it's going to go lower, because if it's hot day, you cannot bear to wear in this attire. And yeah, and I can't, because it's a yearly event and the same business event, so I have to wear a different one every year.
Wow.
Yeah. So I
Well,
have to,
if you're done with that, you can give it to me.
yes, happy to give it to you, but you have to keep the measurement, because they don't
I have to get myself so skinny,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, and slightly a bit taller.
Like a 1 inch taller.
Or we can put on a high heels, no problem. I don't wear high heels anymore. I wear sneakers, because
Okay.
we are going to do some silly things as usual tonight. And I love this time of the year, because I get to laugh my head off when my husband get on this conveyance game machine. When he fall over and roll over, that is the time I'm going to laugh my head off. See, okay, so Marna, I just sent you, I'm going to send you a quick message. Oh, no, it's good, it's good. It's good.
Okay, I will check.
Oh, good, oh, good. No, oh, good, oh, good. I get, I just asked Jamo, because if I have to leave earlier, I'll just ask Jamo to kind of wrap it up. Because we will have to remind members about the renewal at the same time, our business meeting next week. And of course, if there's anything else you want to add on, then please feel free to. Renko, did you rush back from your ESCO's meeting?
Now
Yes.
9:25.
Yeah. Thanks for rushing back and join us tonight. Very, very happy to see you.
Yeah, happy to see you too.
Yeah,
Happy
You
to
don't
see so many faces.
exactly. Especially me. You did not continue.
Yes.
Anyway, I'm seeing you in 2 weeks. Seeing whoever in Cebu. All right, 9:25. Did I hear our timer say that?
Yes.
Going
Okay.
to see
Yes.
you next week. I mean, in 2 weeks, Selena.
Yep.
And then again in January.
Yep.
Oh, okay. All right.
So, okay, we will continue with the session, which is the mastermind session. So I would like to invite DTM Siu Chien Ong to
Yes.
be the facilitator for this session. This session will be conducted by will be presented by our DTM Agustinus Wijaya, and our facilitator is the Siu Chien Ong. The floor is yours.
Thank you. Agus, would you like to present your issue so that all of us can listen and then later on give feedback on what the issue is about? Over to you, Agus.
Okay, thank you, Toastmaster Xu Chen. Good evening, fellow trainers and coaches. Before COVID-19, we are accustomed to in-person training session. During COVID-19, we are forced to do fully online training session. And after COVID-19, some prefer to return to in-person training, including me. But to my surprise, some, in fact, many, still prefer to do online training. Several days ago, I had a conversation with Yogesh Kapoor. Yogesh Kapoor, he was a semi-finalist in the Toastmasters International Speech Contest. And he is also a trainer on communication and public speaking. Yogesh prefers online training to in-person training. His exact word was, "There is no way I'm going back to in-person training. The traffic, the time, the cost of online training are better than in-person training. And also online training session can reach out to wider trainees, to a wider audience." Not just Yogesh, I had heard from many others who voiced out online preference over in-person training session. So with this new realization, I believe as a trainer, we need to be ready for this new normal in order to be able to conduct an efficient and impactful online training session. Now, I need to learn from all of you. I need your tips, your tricks, and your holy grail on how to conduct an efficient and impactful online training session. This is a broad topic, so Toastmaster Xu Chen, I would like to narrow it down to some smaller aspects. I'm going to start with one particular aspect, receive feedback from all the trainers and coaches here, and then I would move on to the next particular aspect until we are running out of time.
Okay.
Let me start with the first aspect. How to grab the attention of the trainees who are determined to turn off their video and not answer when being called by us, the trainer. How to grab the attention of the trainees who are determined to turn off the video and not answer when being called by us, the trainer. Please share with me your tips, your tricks, and your holy grail on how to conduct an efficient, impactful training session with this type of audience. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Agus. So, ladies and gentlemen, I open to the floor now for you to share what Agus wants you to get some feedback from you regarding about how you can share your tips regarding about getting attention from a portion of the people who want to get their attention with their video off. So who would like to give their tips? Start off.
I can start.
Or maybe, yes.
Yeah, Agus, I know it is a big challenge and there is no one easy way, but like with the last few trainings that we've done, pretty big trainings, we have engaged with the audience prior to that through messages. So keep your video on, and then like the stressing also the importance, not just let's say, please keep your video on, but making a little bit of a nudge saying why it is important to keep their video on. We would like to engage with you. And sometimes also we use a little bit of coercion. What I mean is like, if you don't put your video on, then you will not be counted or you'll not get the credit or something like that. That is the extreme. But I've seen that I think with this term, the video, the participants showing video have had an increase compared to before, right? Let's say for TLI, for example. Like before, we didn't say anything about that. But, this time we keep reminding people in the messages, in the reminders, keep your video on because we're counting or tracking or, things like that. So that seemed to help a little bit. And the other thing that I seem to what Alan usually to do like, just engaging audience with the chat. And say maybe that, you will be asked, keep your video on and something like that. I'm not sure if this is very helpful, but I'm just sharing what had shown some improvement in people showing videos. That's from me. Thank you.
Thank you, Mirinda. Thank you. Anyone else share a tip or two? Or maybe I can call those who are around. Renko would like to maybe share your thoughts about this online training.
All right. Actually, recently, I just joining the mentor-to-mentor training. And in our group, we have 9%. The way the facilitator do it, I think is a very good example of how to conduct efficient training with the involvement of most of the audience. The beginning of the class, you must mention, address each member and ask them to turn on their camera. And then secondly, when the name addressed, then everybody will feel important in this meeting. Many of the meeting, they do not address name. And even though they have different names like iPhone 5, Xiaomi, Huawei phone, they don't even take care of those unknown names. So they just rather turn off their camera. They don't think that is important. The second thing is to frequently ask questions. A good trainer, they will frequently address members and ask them questions. And not just by asking questions, but they demand answer, even simple answer, yes or no. So they will feel participate. Some of the meeting, we just training, we just turn off and then leave it there. We work here and there, drink water, go to toilet. We don't really participate in the meeting because we feel like it is just another set of continuous talking. But if you do more interaction, then the audience can participate promptly to answer questions, to have discussion with other members. And of course, like what Miranda say, a lot of other technique can be imposed into the training session. That is my opinion.
Thank you, Renko. Thank you. Thank you for your feedback. Thank you. What about anyone else who like to share? Lucy, would you have any tip or two to share?
Hi, Siu Chen. Yeah, I was recalling on a summit. I joined a Toastmasters summit by some Gabby's club. There is this Ferguson Alex, I think he was a trainer. And during his session, he managed to have many of the audience switch on their video, like what Renko mentioned, because he was calling out names. And he said, if you switch on your video, you will be able to interact in this session. So a lot of people want to play that game. It's like an icebreaker. So many of us are very excited about the game. So we all switch on the video at the start of his session. So it's like a big contrast. The other speakers, everyone switched off, it's like very quiet. And when this Ferguson entered, like everyone to play the game, and then we all have a good time. Yeah, and it's fantastic. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Lucy. Thank you. Anybody else?
Maybe there's another aspect that Agus wants to share. Is that enough? Ask Agus.
Yes,
Is that
thank
enough?
you. Yeah, there's still time. Yes, Mirinda.
No, I just want to check with Agus if that would be.
Yes, Agus.
Yeah, if anyone would like to mention their own tips and tricks, then I welcome them. If no one else would like to mention it, then I'm good with it. I'm good.
Okay, so I will just summarize all those tips that you received today from Mirinda, Renko, and Lucy. We engage the audience and we encourage them, and sometimes the mean of force, to ask them to switch on the video and to track them, and also to engage them in a chat. And Renko was saying that to address them the names, so that they at least they are like a form of appreciation that they are being recognized, and also demand answers, question and answers, so that they will interact, so that they will feel that they have to participate. And with Lucy, we have the ice breaking. It's a form of game, so everybody needs to participate. And from me, I also seen some will see whether the audience are participating by seeing that whether they are alive or attentive. They said, if you are chat with me in the chat box, put an eye or put a tree if you're still there. So when you see many responses onto the chat box, then you know that they are with you. So that is all I have. Agus, is that sufficient for what your online?
Yes, thank you, Xu Chen. I received a lot of good tips and tricks on how to be more efficient in asking the audience to turn on their video. Thank you very much, everyone, for the tips and tricks. May I continue with the
Thank you.
next aspect in the online meeting?
Yes, please.
Okay. The second aspect, in a discussion session, how to conduct efficient and impactful training in terms of that discussion. Is it to form a small group in breakout rooms? But I have seen some breakout rooms, some small groups, they are very passive, let alone having a fruitful discussion. They didn't even speak a single word. So does it mean we need to have a larger group in order to have an impactful discussion? Or do you have any other tips and tricks or holy grail on how to conduct an efficient and impactful training session in terms of having a discussion within the training? Over to you.
So Agus, is that the one that
Yes,
okay.
yes.
So
how to conduct
okay.
An efficient and impactful discussion within our trainings.
Yes. Okay. Thank you, Agus. So, ladies and gentlemen, now anyone who like to give a feedback, tips regarding about a discussion, whether how can we encourage from a group to have a fruitful, successful discussion? Tips on how. Anyone?
BTM Halina raises her hand.
Yes, Halina, over to you, Halina.
Once we had a workshop. It's called Moments of Truth, and we divided the people in 6 groups. However, I think the group leader in every group, we actually already appointed someone in advance, if I'm not mistaken. So before the workshop, so we have briefed this person, and we have asked them to, please ask these questions to the group and please lead them in the group. And then we ask the group leader in every breakout room to appoint someone or to choose someone. I don't know how they do it, but to be the spokesperson. But it is done in advance, I have to admit. I'm not sure how successful it was because I was not in the breakout room. I was in the main room. So I hope it was successful, but we did it in advance.
Okay. Thank you, Halina. Anyone else like to give a tip?
Yeah, I do have an experience where
Yes, Jane.
I believe it was like two years ago when I attended the 7 weeks course for this journalism, where about 20 journalists around the world participate in the 7 weeks course, online course. And what in the online training itself it was an online training, and in the online training we had the main session where like this everyone comes together, and then we have a breakout session. Now for the breakout session, before the session, like a week before the session of that session, we were given homework, we were given questions, we were given materials that we need to read, and then there were questions that we need to answer, and we need to do that homework first. That homework was actually given to us through email, so everyone will get it. It's not through website or anything. Everyone will get it through email. And after the main session, all of us will break out into a breakout room. Now, in the breakout room, we have to answer those questions. So those questions actually from the main session, we learn from the main session, and in the breakout room, we learn to, it's actually enhance our understanding of that particular session. So I think it's quite effective that you give something, a material for them to read, and then give them assignments. Ask them to answer some questions, maybe 1, 2, 3 questions. And then at the breakout session, just ask them, everyone has to present. No one can escape. That was probably the scariest moment of my life, but for 7 weeks, all of us have to do that. So I think that could be very effective because we actually learn from one another. It's a shared knowledge. And at the breakout session, the leader, the instructor were also in this breakout session, where they actually conduct the breakout session itself. So so that could be my tips.
Thank you, Jane. Thank you. Anyone else that can contribute?
Yes.
Yes, Brenda.
Okay, I'm going to share something that I was learning this yesterday or this morning. I started reading this book about creating workshop, and a few things that they said was something that I never really thought about, but I think it might be worth sharing, maybe helpful. So it says that the relationship with the audience should start from the moment that you announce it, from the moment that they discover the information about the audience, about the training or the workshop. So we don't treat them as if when you see them for the first time that's when the relationship starts. So that includes how you speak it, how you it's based on experience. So when we do the workshop, it's based on experience, what we want our audience to start to experience. And so we need to think that from the first time your audience see the information, that's when they start thinking about it. And in between, like, Jane mentioned about giving pre-work, we call it pre-work, and Jane call it reading materials. So that is also helpful, even if it's just like one page summary, something like that. So you create that relationship. And I thought that was something that we never really think about. And then little things, here it is, there's six of them. Yeah, build the buzz. That's one thing that they also say, that forget about the housekeeping, get straight into the engagement. And I think Alan shows this very well. He always start with answer in the chat box if this or that. That is like you grab their attention right away, rather than blah, blah, blah. Even, long introduction is probably doesn't really matter. So that's one of the thing. And then the other thing is, like, timing is very, very important, because that creates trust. And that means as much as you can, try to be on time. If you say this session is going to be 5 minutes, then it has to be 5 minutes. And then, of course, the ending and the beginning. So that's something that is very important to pay attention to. And being very ready also. So because let's say if you start and then there's glitches and then there's no comments about it, it loses people some, I guess, like they trust it just a little bit less. They think, this is not very well organized and things like that. So there are a few things, like those are the main things that I read that sometimes we forget or we don't make it as important. So I hope that helps. So the pre-work and the way you stresses the information to get their attention. It's like you want to show that you care and that they matter to you. So that's that prepare them for your workshop, and that would hopefully would make them much more engaged. Yes, that's all from me.
Thank you, Merinda. Thank you. So, Agus, how about the feedback from the audience on your second subject?
I'm going to interrupt. First part,
Yes.
what you mentioned, Agus, I hate traveling to meetings. For me to go Toastmaster meeting, 45 minutes one way, I'm not interested, because it took 3 hours of my time, which I will rather put it in some way that is more productive than just got stuck in a traffic jam, So when I come to the meeting, I don't really switch on my video, not because I don't want to, because the environment, if I'm in the environment, I don't feel like I want to, unless I've been asked to switch on for blah, blah, blah. So that's already been covered. And obviously, I know why I attend the meeting. For a business meeting, needless have to say that is respect. So I do it. The other thing is I never organize a meeting on Friday. Never, almost never. And I also almost never organize meeting during lunch break or 4 p.m. when people are running for the doors. Because these are my rules and these are the things that I do not want to do, and I don't do it. Unless they are audience that just almost impossible to make everybody in the room, then I will actually explain that. The other part of it is impactful and effective meeting. What do you want to get out of it? So how do you define impactful? How do you define effectiveness in your opinion? What do you want the audience to get away with, to take away with? For me, to run an impactful meeting is, what do I want to see the results of my meeting in terms or in the view of audience? How my meeting is going to impact them, or my training rather. How it's going to impact them? Who are the people in my room? And what message did I get in the first place? And sometimes I'm so straight to the point that I don't even waste a minute on my time, and I'm very strict with agenda. So my session always quite strict. Not that kind of easygoing like Jane Ting was saying. The other aspect is effective. Definition of effective depends what you mean by that. For me, effective meetings, it means that at the end of the training, if the audience take away with 1 point, that is effective for me. So there are many different ways people suggest, and we all covered here pretty much. But the most important thing for me among all is the agenda and following the agenda and the time. For all the trainings, for me personally, I am very difficult with time person. So, and also very, I don't know how to use that word. But there's another word. I actually do not like to go to any meeting, training rather, without agenda. So all the audience know what they're going to expect. All the participants know what they're going to get. And the last but not least is, I hate to listen to training. I hate it. I just don't like it, blah, 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 blah. But if someone says something to me and then don't show me how it is done, I can tell you I'm off the next minute, because my head go around, so how do I use it? The question mark, question mark. I hate trainings that give me question mark, does not give me practical knowledge, give me all this theory, and I don't like it. The other thing is, I'm very visual person. So if people just keep going on audio, I switch off as well. So I always observe how people do. That's why I go a bit funny if you see me in the training. That's how I actually, my way of seeing what type of audience, how they respond to certain things. So it's very difficult to define, come down to a specific way of saying, to add to whatever has been shared among members. But they are those things that I would do. First, I understand the audience. And second, I have agenda beforehand, and I stick to the time that I promised. And third, I don't like just to give theory. I always like practical example, how it applies. And fourth, I follow up. I have a group with me, follow up, responding to what's been shared. And then I keep in touch with them, because for me, it's about establishing that relationship, as Merida said in the beginning, until such point, we just kind of becoming a different kind of audience. But that's how I did it. It may not necessarily apply to everyone. That's pretty much it. Back to you, DTM.
Thank you. Thank you, Shalina. In fact, you did the summary, the main gist of what is needed. So I will just add a bit more, which what I have just now. Relationship building before the meeting is very crucial, and timing, and also to show care and attention to the audience and interaction with the audience, and also giving free coursework to get them to attend to it, so that all will need to participate. That's one thing. And of course, trust and engagement is important to ensure the success of the training. So with that, we have come up to the whole session of this session, mastermind session. Thank you for all your feedback, and thank you, Agus, for participating in this session. And I now hand over back to Jane. Jane, over to you.
Thank you, Siu Chen, for that session, and thank you, Agus, also for that session. And now we're running a bit late, so before I pass the floor to our Madam President, can I have some members' feedback? Anything that we need to improve in this meeting? Any comments?
Start on time.
Start on time.
And
Yes.
finish on time. So yeah, so that is like, I think, we're at the stage where we need to be able to manage time very well. So each role takers would need to really look at time and be able to speed it up or slow it down to do the agenda, and not afraid to interrupt. And if it has to be extended, ask for the extension agreement from the audience if they're okay with the extension. So that would be my suggestion for improvement. Otherwise, I'm quite happy with how today's meeting turned out.
Okay, thank you, Miranda. Any more comments? Feedback?
I would love to hear from Agus, actually. How was this experience for him?
Actually, I cannot think of any feedback at the moment. I felt that this meeting runs pretty well today. And you already mentioned about starting on time, and we must finish on time, because the president already mentioned that it is a very important thing in online meetings and trainings. And if we finish on time today, then I'm good. I don't have any other feedback on today's meeting. Thank you.
Thank you, Agus. Any more comments? If not, then thank you very much for your participation. And I would like to pass this floor to Madam President for her closing remark.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Please give our MC and facilitators and speakers a big round of applause. And thank you for your participation, as well as joining our meeting, members, visiting Toastmasters, and guests. And we look forward to see you back in our future meetings. Remember, our meeting is on every first and third Thursday of the month, starting from 8 p.m. And for members, we have business meeting coming out next Thursday, 28th of September at 8 p.m. Feel free to join us. Last but not least, members, remember, this is the time for renewing membership. If you have not renewed a membership, kindly do so. The self-pay is activated for TNC members, so please do so directly on TI website. With that, once again, thank you very much, my fellow Toastmasters, for being here tonight, and I look forward to see you all next meetings. With that, until then, good night, meeting adjourned.
Thank you.
On the dot.
Thank you. Thank you.
Well, yeah, okay,
Thank
meeting is
you.
done. I would like to ask Minanda.
You're still recorded.
Oops.